Today we will talk about planning that can save the lives. Hello, my name is Rosanna. I am a data analyst hired by a medical staff agency to help them with staff planning during the influenza season in the USA. Let's start with some information about influenza, our project, and this presentation. Seasonal influenza, or its nickname flu, is an acute respiratory infection caused by influenza viruses which circulate in all parts of the world, including in the USA. You can see the image of these viruses here. Most people recover from fever and other symptoms within a week without requiring medical attention. However, influenza can cause severe illness or even death, particularly among high-risk groups, including the very young, the elderly, pregnant women, and those with serious medical conditions. In the United States, during influenza season, more people than usual suffer from the flu. Some people, particularly those in vulnerable populations, develop serious complications and end up in the hospital. Hospitals and clinics need additional staff to adequately treat these extra patients. The medical staffing agency provides this temporary staff. So this is what about our project to determine when to send staff and how many to each state. Our presentation starts with the title that medical staff planning can save the lives. So let's get started. Influenza can kill. We'll start with bad news. Influenza can kill our moms and dads, as the elderly is among the vulnerable population. On the first slide of our presentation, we included the summary information about the death data caused by influenza for the period 2009-2017 in the United States. The total death number is 415,000, a little bit more. Virus mostly hits elderly. 1% of the population above the age of 65 dies of influenza. You may think 1% is not significant. Okay, but what if we tell you that it's almost equal to the population of Miami, Florida? You can see that population of Miami in 2021 was equal to 439,000. So now you have to realize the scale of disaster caused by this virus. Let's go to the next slide, which we call lives of elderly are in danger. According to our hypothesis, if an individual of the age of 65 and older is infected with influenza, her likelihoods of death is high. We made some analysis to prove or deny our hypothesis. On this pie chart, you see that the majority of deaths comes to population above the age of 65 years old. It's more than 91%. On the second graph, which is called the scatter plot, the relation between two variables is depicted: death data among the elderly and the number of elderly population. You can see that there is a positive correlation between those two variables. In other words, the number of deaths rises along with the rising number of elderly population. Okay, let's go to the next slide. If our hypothesis is correct, it means that the next step should be to analyze first those states that have the larger amount of elderly. In this bar chart, you can see the breakdown of elderly population by states in descending order. It starts with California and follows by Florida, Texas, etc. And in the next graph, you can see the map of the USA, just to make it more visible for you. Where on this map you can see the circles. This is the breakdown of death data by 10 years age group, illustrated in this purple color of circles. This map is a combined map. We used colors, the shades of gray, to illustrate the states with most and least amount of death data, and circles that use size and shades of purple color to illustrate the breakdown of death data by age groups. You can see that California is the most problematic state. Let's choose California. And the darkest shade of gray shows that the highest number of deaths comes to California. And from the first glance, it can be clear that the majority of deaths belong to the older age groups, 65 and above, as the majority of circles are in dark purple shades. If we hover the cursor over the circle, we'll see that it consists of different shades of purple color. That informs us that death records consist of different age groups. We also included a highlight menu in the right side of this dashboard that allows you to choose any categories of age group you like. Let's have a try. Okay, let's pick this one. Now we will see how the death data that belongs to this age group are spread across the country. We also included a highlight menu for the states. You can select any state and read information regarding that state. Let's say Colorado. You see how it's highlighted here and on the map? Yes. You have to notice that these both charts are interactive. When we select a state on the bar chart, it's immediately highlighted on the map. It's a handy instrument to monitor death data. You can see that there is a connection between the number of population and amount of death data. Let's choose California, which is a more visible example. States with the highest number of elderly population also reports the highest number of deaths. Let's go to the next slide, which is about seasonality. Okay, now everyone knows that influenza is a seasonal disease. In this slide, you can see the seasonality graph line of influenza death records on monthly basis. Yeah. Almost all states have the same shape of lines. From the seasonality graph, you have to notice that the highest number of death comes to the winter season, like, for example, January, December, February, and lowest number comes to the summer season and to September in case of California, for example. On the second graph, you can see the forecast of the possible death data for the next year, for 2018. We see that unfortunately the trend doesn't go down for the next year. These both maps are also interactive. On the right side, we also included highlight menu where you can choose randomly any state and read information about that state, the seasonality and forecast, like Illinois. And we can read the seasonality data regarding Illinois and the forecast for the next year. So let's go to the last slide of our presentation, which we call All Lives Matter. In the conclusion of our presentation, we'd like to say the following. Our hypothesis is supported by statistical data. The population above 65 years old are the most vulnerable group. So we have two recommendations to medical staff agency. We have to focus first to those states with the highest number of the elderly. And in winter season, the extra needs for medical staff is rising as influenza has its seasonality. Additional medical staff should be deployed in winter season to address staff shortage in those states that suffer most. We'd like to end our presentation with the following message. All lives matter, and it's our duty to take care of elderly. Thank you.